Hi, my name is Lucille Giwa Amu. I guess before I tell you a little bit about what we're here to do, I kind of have to introduce who I am. I am a multidisciplinary creative. I first of all started out being a painter. That was the first medium that I used to express myself. But since then, I've taken up knocks in directing. I'm a music enthusiast. I'm a writer. I do this, that, and the third, but that's not what we're here to really focus on. Today, we are here to focus on me as a tattooer. I am a tattoo apprentice that is currently self-learning, and I underwent an apprenticeship for about a year and a half, but right now I am focusing on using my tattooing to connect with people, have new conversations, and seeing how the tattoo industry and how tattoos impact mental health and creativity. What we're going to be doing, especially in this first mini-series, is that we are going to be focusing on different creatives. We have a great lineup of 3 multifaceted, multidisciplinary artists, and they are going to be talking to us today about their experiences with their art, with creativity, and with tattoos. The whole point of this is that I want to destigmatize tattooing and kind of see how tattooing can be a channel for therapy and a channel for expression. So I hope that you guys enjoy. I'm really excited to hear what you think, and let's get into it. On today's episode, we're having a very, very special guest. You might know her as Brownie. You might know her as the Bella Effect. You might know her as Hadassah Sparks, depending on how long you've been here. But I know her as my sister, Annabel Fayomi. She is a multifaceted creative. And today we're going to be talking about her experiences with tattoos, how that's helped her work through her traumas and how that's helped her reclaim her identity, and also navigating an online persona during a time when that wasn't really the thing. So I'm really excited to get into it, and I can't wait to see what kind of conversation we have. Chocoloko bango she.
Chicken no they cry for night. Ayo.
Chicken no they cry for night. If you cry for night, you kill am chop.
I don't want him to see me. That's why I'm trying to not.
Just turn your face. Don't be an
Colin, do you think you answer? He don't even like you.
Hey.
Let me tell you something.
Alice, please carry that child away.
What did you guys do to
F them kids.
What did you guys do to Brownie?
Change your life, innit?
Okay.
She's looking adorable.
Oh yeah. We are rolling. Combo off. F them kids, bro.
Damn.
What is it, my child?
Do you want to come and say hi?
No, you can't sit down with me. You just want to be the star. Go and sit with Uncle Timmy. You can watch from there. Okay, then you can go back upstairs. See you.
She considered she was just like rah.
Ew.
Okay,
I'd rather
guys.
eat the hanger.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Zoe, if you're there, you can't speak. Is that okay?
Maybe you should go upstairs instead. And then
You
when
just
I'm
can't
done, I'll
talk.
come and meet you because you have to be really quiet if you're here.
Like Aspa, and I don't want to silence your spark. Show her the upstairs. The 2 of you should be going together.
I shall come down again.
You can come down again if she allows you to come down.
Please, my time is going, I beg.
Okay, so let's go.
Yeah, go upstairs. I'll come and meet you when I'm done. She's a grown woman. She can climb by herself.
You don't give them about that.
Said no.
Okay.
Strange man carrying her.
Testing. I also like all these like random scenes in it as well because I want it to be very, very like authentic to like the chaos that is actually happening in this house right now.
Okay.
He said,
Anyway, child.
he said,
Go and meet your grandma, beg. Go and meet your grandma and Miss Alice, please. Grandma and Miss Alice, okay?
Okay. Hi.
Oh, you again.
I guess the first question I'm going to ask you is, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling very calm, relaxed. I had like an adrenaline-filled afternoon/morning, so I think I'm coming off it really well.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to be relaxed. I want you to be in a state of chaos.
No. Oh my god, my heart is beating. I can't breathe.
Okay, yeah. So I guess the first realistic question I want to ask you is, what are you getting, and what does this tattoo mean to you?
Okay, so I am getting a kind of like an intersection of really dainty flowers, and then I'm getting 2 letters on the sides of them, and it's basically, I think, represents my relationship with Mama, aka my grandmother that passed away the day before my birthday, actually. So that's a bit depressing. Anywho, yes, we were very close. We had the same name, so it was very difficult to figure out what I wanted to get to like commemorate her, because I didn't want to get my own name on my body. So it's been extremely cliche for me, and I would not have been able to look at it. So I settled on this because it did feel like, 2 very different flowers meeting at a certain point, and then her 2 initials that people know her by, FA, and then Victoria on one side. I just really liked having that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It aligns with the style that I usually like of tattoos, which is very like simple, dainty, not like in your face. And I think this tells the story. I haven't gotten anything that's not text based in a very long time.
Like an illustration.
Yeah.
I will say right off the bat, I do notice the choice of flower is a dandelion, and just knowing who Mama was, she was a character.
She was a full,
She was
full-bodied individual,
a full body,
personality.
very full. She was a mother, obviously, but she was also a very cantankerous woman, and I loved it.
It's really messy.
Bro, the day that she passed, we were literally telling her, "Why didn't you go and vote now?" Like, like very. She's always been very, very sweet and very full. That's the best word I would use to like describe her. I've been thinking about getting a tattoo for her as well, but my tattoo artist and I, side eye, they're in the corner. You can't see them because they're off screen. Have been trying to figure out the schedule for that. But I'm very honored and pleased that you trusted me to do this piece for you today.
I think it makes it all the more sentimental and meaningful, you being the one to do it. Don't start crying here. Ew. I don't like the way you're doing your eyes at me.
I'm very soft. Okay.
Yeah, you are.
Before I start crying, I'm going to start off the process by shaving you. You don't have that much hair. The reason why we do this,
I feel like I do.
It's just tiny little baby things.
Okay.
Depending on actually where we choose to place it, we might not even really have to shave. The reason why we do this is so it doesn't make our needle blunt. So I'm going to start by shaving you, if that's okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
I feel like just because this is my sister, I feel like just being rude. But at the same time, because I would have just been like, I want to showcase how I normally am. Like, do you get what I mean? I don't want this to be a representation.
But this is actually how you are with me.
Sorry, this is your close-up.
Okay.
So don't talk to the camera, look into this camera.
Okay.
No, you can look into this one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful information. So I'm going to start off by shaving you.
You're so gentle.
Thanks. I think that's one thing I really appreciate about a lot of non-men in the tattoo industry is that we are typically trained to be more gentle. And especially because most of my practice, I'm using Dettol. Side note, using Dettol. It's very old school because the person that trained me was trained in an old school biker shop. So, most people use stencil stuff now, and that's okay. But I love Dettol, especially because coming from Canada, it reminded me of home because you have to put the Dettol inside your bathwater. So first time
Jesus Christ, please don't advertise that. Because that thing is still up in the air in questions.
But that being said, so that's what I'm using. But yes, ADHD, what was I saying before?
Oh, you were talking about placement of the tattoo, why I got the tattoo. And then you now started shaving my leg.
Yes, so the reason why I find that in my experience and from what I've also heard from a lot of people is that people that are not men typically tend to tattoo lighter and are more gentle. Most of my clientele are women and gender diverse people. So I feel like it is also very important for me to make sure that they don't feel like they are uncomfortable in any way and they feel like their body is being approached with respect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do
appreciate
this
that.
placement. Thank you. I'm going to do this placement. You're going to check it out. Yeah. After
That
just
was
saying
so
gentle.
unnecessarily aggro. Like, that
After
was
just
so
saying
aggro.
gentle. But you're
I
going to
wanted
check
to say
it
out, but I
out.
didn't want to misrepresent. That's actually perfect. That's exactly where I wanted it. Nah, this sound is just coming so therapeutic, which is a terrible thing to say.
Why though? Let's talk about that. Let's unpack it.
For me, the first point of contact is always the worst. And then after that, it's like, okay. Hello, old friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I didn't want to say darkness. That's why I just said hello, old friend. Thanks for adding your own spin on it.
Anytime. Anytime. Okay, so about to get started. All right, I usually, in my process, because I'm going to walk you guys along with me, I usually start pretty silently. I'll ask, I'm going to let you know when I'm about to start, and then I'll start asking my questions as I get more comfortable. Because, like sometimes we get shy, and that's okay. Okay. I'm about to start. Okay.
I was about to pretend to scream, but I felt like I didn't want to also scare you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you consent.
How did that feel?
It felt really good, actually.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is typically a painful spot.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't know that beforehand.
Yeah, this is typically like a
Is it
knot.
because it's on the bone?
It is because it's on the bone. The skin here is pretty thin. So it's like already pre-stretched. So areas that have like a lot of fat and areas that have little fat are notoriously painful. So like ribs, your booty cheeks.
Are really painful?
Yeah, your booty cheeks
I'm
are
really
painful.
surprised.
People don't think that
Yeah, I would never have guessed that.
until it's time.
Don't
But
kill me, please.
okay. So I guess my next question is, how do you find that creativity has helped you navigate life?
I think being able to be creative, especially with my voice and speaking in general and all that, dialoguing, has definitely helped me become more emotionally aware. I feel like self-expression as a whole is something that I really hold on to very dearly. I know for a fact that at different points in time has saved my life. And I just like the idea of being able to process how I feel and be able to share it, and sometimes even process the vulnerable moments in between knowing how you feel. So yeah, I'm very much a person that like goes through the process in the midst of other people or in a public setting because I also like being accountable. One of the things I appreciate the most about myself is my authenticity. So being able to do things in a public setting helps me stay true to myself and like be authentic. Because I know that if I step out of line, there are people that will for sure call me out.
That will check you. I find that is something that I've always really appreciated, especially like growing up, because I very much did idolize you. And, if you ask my sister, like I was very much obsessed, like, like very, very much like a puppy dog following her all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think something that I will say is that your voice and your ability to not just create thoughts but share them have given me a lot of strength. And I know not just me, like I know a lot of people that you've interacted with, because like kind of delving into our next section is that like you are a pioneer, like, and I know you don't like to toot your own horn, so I'll toot it for you.
Oh my gosh, I don't even believe I have a horn at this point. So
You are very
any horn
much
that you're tooting, you've been the one to help me construct the horn in the first place to be tooted.
I'm so dirty. My sister is very humble.
Ew. Don't say that.
My sister is very, very
It's
humble.
a lie. It's not true. It's not true. I'm
But
not
I
humble,
will
please.
say, like, what's inspired you? Because you were creating in the blogosphere, Nigerian blogosphere specifically, when a lot of people were not doing that. You know, like I remember you going off to uni and then just really exploring yourself. I would be in like what's like just 1, 2, 3. I would just be on Twitter. At that time, I had to lie about my age so they would allow me on Twitter.
Naturally.
I would just be seeing like your blog posts and your blog links, and like you started Hadassah Sparks at that point in time. And I really did love the name. I kind of wanted, first of all, to ask what the inspiration behind that was, and second of all, to ask what's the inspiration behind the name in particular.
Okay.
Because that is it's a powerful name.
It is a powerful name. I think behind the blog itself, I had gotten to a point where I had finally had like my first taste of freedom being in uni. And it felt like I was finally allowed to have some kind of a voice. And I think it's a bit more complicated when you're like a firstborn daughter.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to shoulder the weight of a lot of things emotionally and otherwise for the whole family. And I felt like from the point in time that daddy died to like me leaving and going to uni, it felt like I was really trying to make sure that I was holding people together and holding everything together. So I didn't really feel like I had a voice for a very long time. But I also was able to, at that point, be okay with that to the point that nobody would notice that I didn't have a voice. So I was still
Yes.
doing a lot of things that I might have done with or without a voice, but I was pretty much like on autopilot for the most part. So going out into the world in a place that felt like seemingly uncontrolled at the time, I now started being more open to experiences, and obviously the blog was born out of having those experiences and wanting to express them to people and to kind of, I guess, find other people that feel the same way. It was very much like a beacon, like envision it like a lighthouse for like weary are they shipmen, seamen? I really didn't want to say seamen.
I could see that you.
Yeah,
you
I was really
danced around the
trying
idea.
to avoid seamen, but here we are, seamen. And yeah, I really wanted it to be a safe space, and it ended up not really being that. Yeah, because of external forces. It was my first true interaction with like shame, and not even for the reasons that one would expect. But at that point in time, it really did feel like, oh my gosh, this is like my own thing, my own little corner of the internet, when the internet wasn't really like the internet
As
that it is
aggressive
right now.
as it is, yeah.
It felt like such a special thing. And then as far as the name Hadassah Spark, I just really liked, to be fair, I've always been spiritual. I think at different points in time I've picked up and dropped off my relationship with God, when it has been convenient for me to do so. But at that point in time, it was going to be called Esther. I wanted it to be attached to somebody in the Bible, and obviously it had to be a woman because like the
Period.
and yeah, and then I think it was at that point that I found out that that was Esther's other name. Yeah, and I just loved it so much because it felt like something that I was going to be releasing to the world, like something that people will now be like, oh, what does this mean? And then also get to know who she was and stuff like that. And then that spark was just what set me apart, or what I felt set me apart. So Hadassah Spark, because I felt like I had a lot of responsibility on me, so I could kind of relate with how Esther felt when she had to save her whole. Let me not relate.
No, go off.
Completely, but like I could kind of get the idea of like moving around with the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much where that came from.
And I feel like that's so beautiful, and I don't want you to shortchange how much you do relate to that, because at the end of the day, being from the family that you're from, and like having to navigate not having this man that was your best friend, and having to like be the glue, because like you said, not only firstborn daughter but firstborn, period. Right? And that's already like very stressful. I really like the fact that it sounds like this was a healing experience, and it really sounds like it really elevated your voice. And I find that something that is very prominent with the women in this family is speaking.
Yeah.
Speaking. If you know our mother, good.
Yeah.
You know that she's gonna talk. Like
Giving public speaker
she
generations of public speakers.
and like even just the general, our mother and our father kind of raised us very much along the lines of speak up. Never like silence your voice. So I feel like being able to do that at that point in time and spark up, because at the end of the day, like after you came a lot of other people, including me, you know, and at the end of the day, like I feel like it can be very easy to shrug that off because years have passed, you know, and it's
feels like a lifetime ago.
Exactly, but it's very important to know where you're from and like where you're going to. So moving from that, I want to talk about the Brownie tube, or the idea of Brownie and who Brownie is / was and who Brownie is going to be.
Brownie feels like a dead name at this point in time, but at that point in time, it was kind of me moving away almost to the exact opposite of where I felt like I was with Hadassah Spark. Hadassah Spark was, yes, there was some fashion here and there, but it was mostly like actual self-expression, like me literally, like literacy. Like I was talking a lot, I was writing poetry and stuff like that. By the time we got to Brownie, it felt more like a visual thing than anything, up to the point that the name itself was it came about so superficially, to be completely honest. I think I was just like, yeah, I'm Brownie. Like I've never been able to express to anybody why I chose that name, because it's such a it was just a simple choice for me.
I feel like I never asked because I just felt like it made sense.
Yeah, and I think I can hide under the cover of that for a very long time. I was just like, yeah, I'm Brown, and then like I had a dog, and my dog's name is also Brownie, and I like brownies. Like it was just such a random thing to kind of shrug off. But then it felt like me finally coming into my own for the season that I was in.
Yes.
So coming from Hadassah Spark, which was a time when you know, I was writing a lot of really deep things, talking about my feelings, and not really having the best reception with the people around me, because I think everybody was still very much scared and concerned about what the internet had to offer, and like, you know, putting yourself out there and all that jazz. By the time I got to Brownie, it was like, yeah, F all of that, you know, I'm just going to have a good time. And I went to the extremes because I'm a person that goes to extremes. So I went from being like really mellow and stuff like that to just the other side of like whatever interest I have, you will find it on my thing. Like I talked about relationships, I talked about friendships. In fact, some information that I probably shouldn't have shared, but I have no regrets sharing. I said a lot, and I feel like that's what endeared a lot of people to the persona of Brownie, because I feel like at the end of the day, it was kind of a persona more than who I was. It started off like as somebody that I was, but at some point in time, I realized that it was
became
a lot
more
of
a symbol, maybe.
Yes, it was me actively trying to be that person without having to do the work of the in between, like dealing with the things that would take me from Miss Ferrivella to Brownie. I refused to deal with them, and I just wanted to jump ahead and just become Brownie. So in a lot of the Brownie things and the things I did while under that name, there's not a lot of reference to the past, because it kind of felt like I just blocked out a lot of those things, and I was like, yeah, this is just a fresh start, new person, don't really care about anything else that happened beforehand. So yeah, it's really deep.
It is really deep.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a conversation concerning this in ever, actually.
I'm happy.
Yeah, me
exclusive here.
Oh my gosh. Same, me too.
But I definitely feel like one thing I really enjoyed about Brownie was how unapologetic. Very unapologetic. I remember there was one particular story that you told me in person, and the naked man. You always have to refer to the naked man.
Oh my God.
You told me in person when it had happened, and then you told the story on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, Jesus
oh my gosh,
Christ,
this is unhinged. This is unhinged.
And I felt like that was very powerful as well. Like I felt like the amount of freedom that you used to speak your mind and just do what you wanted.
Yeah.
But I also, with this extra layer of what you've communicated about, like how, like, you know, like you kind of just jumped ahead without actually doing the work to really be secure in that person. It makes a lot of sense. Like, I feel like a lot of times, especially with the internet, because bear in mind, that's the point in time. This is around 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. This is when the internet's popping up. This is when the internet's becoming
I think
what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like this is when, like, it was softer that year.
it was.
But it definitely was not the softest.
Yeah.
So I feel like even with that in mind, like you had a lot of things that you were navigating, and being in such a public space as well, it does shake you.
Yeah, it felt very much like I had to constantly be fighting for the right to have a voice. So even things that were even things that were pertaining to me personally, I would still have situations where people would be trying to like talk me down from having conversations about them, and that only kind of spurred me on more. But what I've also come to realize in a post-Brownie era is that
I like that post
right? Is that like sometimes that desire to prove people wrong is actually born from like a desire to ignore your shame. Like sometimes you can actually people can say whatever they want and it might not bother you, or you might not feel like you need to go harder because you're secure.
Because you know who you are.
Exactly.
Like it's not really a conversation, that's your business.
That desire to fight so hard to prove people wrong is something that's like, till now, man, it's something that I'm still trying to unlearn. I find myself in positions where I have to like be like, babe, just relax. It actually doesn't matter. Because I'm now trying to finally deal with a lot of the things I've been holding back for a long time and functioning, high functioning, in fact.
Because
I
I do feel like that's a thing about like security, right? Like I feel like when you feel the need to defend yourself so aggressively, it's always a sign of there's something a little bit amiss.
Yeah, I remember your era of that too.
Yes. I love how, you know, the opportunity to humble me was only so far. But
one of us has to be humble. One of us has to be humble.
I definitely get that. I feel like even with navigating that point in time, I feel like that must have still been in the whole trajectory, looking back from foresight. This has all been a healing journey for
It's
you.
been amazing. It's been, you know me, I love the good and the bad.
You've had such
I enjoy them. I've had a full experience.
leading us to our latest developments.
What is our latest development?
And like the experiences that kind of led you to
Feeling the need to
start a podcast about you being a mother and what that has been like for you.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like oftentimes mothers do, and because you really did go from being this, you know, like popping off the walls, doing whatever, whenever, to like worrying about coochie goblins. That's what I call my niece and nephew.
Parasites, but with love.
With love.
Yeah.
But like with worrying, and like what kind of a shift that was for you. So I guess like when I would ask, first of all, like what was that mental shift like for you at that point in time where you're like, okay, I'm having this baby, right? What are we gonna do about it? You know, even like navigating the circumstances and like how you had found out at like even like 5 months and everything, right? Like navigating that and like being like, okay, so this is a new trajectory. This is a new angle. This is a new perspective.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that impacted your creativity and B inspired you to make that podcast?
Okay.
So you can start with A first.
Those are really good questions. I think the first thing is that the transition for me was way more seamless mentally than it was in the physical plane. I feel very, very strongly that I was always destined to be a mom. So there was no part of me that felt like, oh my gosh, I won't be able to do this from a mental standpoint. I think my concerns were always physical, but aside from that, my concerns were for everybody else. Because at the end of the day, when you make certain decisions, you're the one that has to live with them, but you have to remember that there's also an offshoot of who you are.
Yeah.
Like you're an extension of me.
Yeah.
So as much as I might be prepared to deal with the consequences of my actions, it doesn't take away from the fact that you are also entitled to, responding however you do from the consequences of my actions.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was the battle for me. Then as far as creatively, I think at that point in time, it felt like I had reached some kind of proverbial judgment day for myself. Because it got me to the point where I was like, okay, I actually have to deal with these things that I'm running away from, because I'm not about to start a whole new journey holding on to and being under this umbrella of Brownie and like everything just being wild and chaotic and amazing and ratata without actually dealing with the underneath, the underbelly of it all. And I think it's really sobered me up creatively. It sobered me up to the point where, once again, I reached another extreme of like wanting to share but not really wanting to share things anymore. And not because all of a sudden I just felt protective. There's definitely that protective layer to it. But because even more and more, I really wanted things to be authentic to who I was. And I accepted the fact that, like, when it comes to content creating, I'm very transitional. I didn't want to be put in a box. I'm constantly fighting from this box. And it still causes me problems till now, because it's so hard to define myself as a creative.
Yeah.
Because I really do think I'm like a transitional person.
You're
naturally.
multifaceted
I love
madness.
change. Exactly. I love change. So I feel like that is what that did for me. It kind of opened me up to the fact that, okay, there are certain things that need to be sorted out before you seek out anything greater than where you are. And also kind of got me to the point where I realized that I was kind of self-sabotaging for a lot of time, because I really wanted to stay small. And I still can't really explain why there's a desire for me to stay small when I know that I have the propensity to be bigger. And that's something that I'm even dealing with. Like, Zoe's almost 5, so even like almost 6 years down the line, I'm still trying to figure out why I'm holding myself back when I know that I'm capable of things that are bigger than where I am. So I think that's thing of like, I knew there was something that needed to be fixed, but I couldn't really figure it out.
Don't put your finger on it.
Yes, I couldn't put my finger on it, and it's just recently that I finally been able to understand that, like, the relationship that I have with shame and bottling it up and just keeping it in a corner till somebody just walks past and just accidentally hits it, and then the thing just falls on the floor, and then it just
pops off.
Yeah, and then it starts looking for me again, kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like the bravery that I was holding on to in the Brownie era finally met reality. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, that has been nice, but like, really? Like,
how
are you dead ass about that? Like, is that a thing you're just going to keep on doing? Especially like when I said, like, with other people involved, I was now in like a serious romantic relationship that I felt like, okay, could lead to something more.
Yeah.
I was now having a child. So like stuff like that kind of makes you realize that, man, I just need to be better. Like, I can't run away from things forever.
And I feel like something that's very
So cute.
Thank you. We are in fact done with the tattoo.
Right.
But something that I find that is very important is the idea of how the internet has contributed to us requiring external validation rather than seeking internal. I feel like at the point in time where you started Moo, you were more having that conversation for yourself.
Yeah.
It was more journalistic.
Yes.
Than, like trying to receive that external validation. It was more like, okay, like, this is an experience that I'm having.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is having this experience, but
And also sharing like what I learned from said experience as well was really important to me. I feel like I got a lot of power. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
Please, that's what I'm here for.
I feel like I feel more strength in having a podcast than a YouTube channel, because I feel like for a long time I really depended on, I'm not the most beautiful person in the world, but like I'm close, I really depended on like people being able to see me to understand me.
Yeah.
And like having a podcast takes away it's being about me. Why are you smiling like that?
Because I'm just like, oh,
You're making me shy.
so humble.
But like, yeah, so for me, it takes away a layer of it being attached to me directly and just being about me, and gives space for it to be about
other
anybody that
experiences.
relates to it. Exactly. So that was like a really big shift for me. It took me a lot before I finally decided, this YouTube thing, I cannot keep doing it. It took a lot from me. Even like my attachment to like social media in general and stuff like that has waned over the years. It feels like the more full I am as a person, the less I'm attached to these things. So now, like you said, it's purely for the purpose of I'm a storyteller by nature. I've always been a storyteller, and this is a good and safe environment for me to tell my stories. So that's what like Mom on One is. And the whole idea of it is taking the experiences from the past, especially a lot of the things that I do not want to address or did not want to address, and then trying to figure out what it is that was beautiful that came out of it. So a lot of the stories are not happening in real time. There are a few that are happening, like the labor and delivery one, which was like my first ever podcast, my episode. But everything else is kind of coming from a place of like looking back, being so introspective, because you want to deal with something, you want to have it handled, and then you want to move on and make more stories and make more memories. But know that at the back of your mind, there's nothing like that'll wake you up in the middle of the night and be asking you questions. Yeah, so
some key points I'm kind of taking away from this conversation as well is the internalization of guilt and shame. And I feel like whereas Hadassah Sparks was this version of you that had just like, popped out of a cocoon, right? And Brownie was like this big experience where like you do like, that was when like the internet was a shame generator. At the end of the day, you did have supporters and you did have a lot of support. Like you said, there was an underbelly, and like there would always be those 1-2 people, whether the people are in your real life, whether the people are in the comments, like there will always be those people that had so much to say, and because you did not have the security to fight back mentally, it would lead to, and that's the thing I find with like the experience of being a Black woman, right? Like shame and guilt, it never finish. Like it can never exhaust.
Always room for more.
There's always room for more. So I think it's so beautiful to see how you move from that to mama.
Yeah.
And even just in how much you feel the need to do when social media is concerned and when the internet when the internet is concerned. I do think it's very beautiful. I feel like something else when it comes to like shame as well is like I've always really liked how hard you ride for yourself, and the reason like that specifically with regards to how you now are in like your beautiful Christian era where you're feeling more satisfied and more settled in your spirituality. But it's not stopping you from being a baddie. Because I feel like there is definitely an antification that can happen.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, please patent that.
Hold 30 plus babes accountable.
Hold us accountable, baby.
There's very much an antification that happens where people...
I feel it. I'm fighting. Fighting.
I can see you every day waking up.
I'm fighting for my life.
But at the same time, I feel like you also have this true, pure authenticity where you just don't send. Like as long as your God has not personally told you,
thank you,
this thing. Even like literally with like the tattoos from today, right? Annabel, I need to tell you guys this for sure. I would not be here if not for Annabel. Annabel walks so I could run. Annabel walks so I could run.
Professional black sheep.
Yo, bro.
Professional with degree and everything.
You get what I mean? I was dyeing hair, piercing ear, doing tattoos. And
piercing nipple, piercing belly button.
Exactly. And as a last born, seeing you claim yourself against all these factors, against, even knowing who our father was and all these people that have all these
expectations,
silly expectations of this goalpost of perfection that continuously shifts. Right? Seeing you reclaim yourself in that way has always been so inspirational and so beautiful. And one of my first tattoos was Annabelle's name, because at the end of the day, it is very
tattooed on somebody's body.
It's right here. But one of my first tattoos was Annabel's name, and it's Chuku Fumnaya, but Fumnaya, which means I see you through my eyes, which is an Igbo expression of love. And I feel like I do see you, and I do see your experiences.
You started.
I have started. I get so emotional.
Big.
This is hard, guys. This is firstborn daughter versus lastborn child. You can tell that they raised us differently. But I will say, I really do appreciate your contribution to my life and to a lot of the people that can't be here and actually physically verbalize that to you. I do feel like you're very powerful. Okay, before I get
It means so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Because I feel like sometimes you just need to hear the nice things, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so this being your most recent tattoo, how did you feel about getting it? What was the feeling like? What was the conversation?
It felt very much like shedding yet another layer of things that are like holding me back. I don't know. When like there's certain things you experience that you can't really find words for. It doesn't happen to me a lot, but like just walking through this conversation and experiencing this at the same time, it just feels like there was some kind of alignment. Like the experience was very aligned for me in what I needed at this present point in time. So I really appreciate this.
I'm very happy.
And from you, I will never say no to a free tattoo.
Can you see the opportunity?
Also that.
Can you see? Okay, how would you compare this experience
to the other ones I've had with you?
To the first tattoo experience.
My first tattoo?
Yes.
Well, the person that was doing my first tattoo was a woman as well. So I think she tried her best to be like gentle and sweet, but like she was Caucasian. So I feel like, maybe she wasn't really getting the way my skin, because obviously before you pointed it out that I was like injured kind of with the tattoo, I felt like there was something a bit off about it based on the other ones that I've experienced. But at that point in time, it just felt like I remember planning to go. I remember going by myself. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell anybody. And I just came back and I was like, yeah, I got a tattoo. And was like, I'll let the chips fall. And that, I remember crying so much. I cried so much after. No, not during. After the fact, because it just felt like, oh my goodness, like I've unlocked like a different way to express myself. I've unlocked a way to like show myself how I feel, because a lot of the earlier tattoos I got were very much just for me. Yeah, it's in more recent times I'm just like, yeah, I'm one of them. I'm one of the bad gang. Yeah, but initially, a lot of them, especially that first one, is in such an intimate place because it was just for me. Yeah, and it still remains just for me. For the most part, it's still just for me. So yeah, but this feels more like I'm secure in myself and I know myself well enough to know what I am capable of, and I can get it for myself because I want it. That one felt like more like a necessity. At that point in time, I needed like a lot of closure. It was my dad's name, by the way. Not really his name, but like his birthday and something that says Child of Solomon. And at that point in time, it felt very much like I needed it. It felt like I was dealing with so many things emotionally and stuff, and a lot of turmoil that I, once again, did not handle when I needed to handle them, and they were coming back. And it just felt like stamping that, like putting that on me, made a statement. And it was like, yes, I love this man as much as you died, and I'm not happy that you died. I'm not happy with you because you died. Like, I still love you so much. And every day I would feel anytime I would look at it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I actually like this guy. I'm not even angry anymore. It really
feels like you carry him with you.
Yes, it felt like such a healing experience. I can't even explain it because I haven't really gone back to it to think about it after the fact. But yeah, that was my era of getting tattoos based on traumatic things.
I do very much appreciate the fact that tattoos have been a therapeutic process for you, because I do believe that tattoos help affirm your identity and affirm where you've been, and affirm where you want to go to. It is, and I'm very, very happy that it could do that for you. I'm happy that you could also commemorate someone else that you loved and lost as well. And I do know that they do follow you, but like now, not just in spirit, but they actually have physical reminders on your body.
Yeah, and I'm walking around with them.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that one was for daddy and this one is now for mama.
Yeah.
And you're the one that did it.
Yeah, slay.
Double C. No,
But-
this was a healing experience. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you for taking time. I literally asked her yesterday. So you know that you really brought her A game today. That being said, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. This is giving me get the fuck out of here.
It is giving, we have come to the debriefing
Okay.
section where like we went on this emotional journey because it was very emotional for me as well.
Yeah.
And we can acknowledge and dissipate.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, and sing. Bye, niggas.
Thanks for your time.
Do you like it? So now you can't talk anymore.